What am I reading? It's funny you should ask. Let's take a look on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, comic book community. This is Jim with Bronzeville Comics, and I'm coming to you with another video. A reminder, our videos drop on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button, leave a comment. And I just want to give a shout out to Jerry the Jitterbug and his video channel. He does an incredible job of conserving old comic books. And recently I had come across a collection. There were a couple of books that he wanted from that collection. We worked out a deal. I shipped him the books. One of them was incomplete, but he had a coverless copy. And one of the projects that he has upcoming on his channel is a conservation of that book by marrying either the cover to the coverless copy or maybe the centerfold to the copy that I had. So that's going to be fun, worth a look. I'm going to leave a link to his channel down below in the description. So my reading has fallen behind, to say the least, and it's been behind for years. Part of it was getting married, having kids, starting a family, all that sort of stuff where life got in the way. And I never stopped collecting comics. One of my best friends owns a comic book store, and I had for years just been piling up comics, coming in every once in a while, and there's always a laugh. Yeah, I'll get to these in 10 years. And I am a completist, if nothing else. If I watch a TV series, I have to watch, I pretty much have to watch it all the way to the end, no matter how far it jumps the shark. Same is true of comic books. I tend to collect runs, and I rarely stop. And when I collect comics, when I buy them for the shop, I want to read them. So I put them aside and I read them chronologically. It's not like I just say, okay, I'm going to take this title and read like 20 issues of this title. I don't do that. I'm going to take this month and read this month. So I had to take a little trip down into the basement to find some comics. Let's take a look at that. So this rather abandoned corner of my house houses a lot of books from, it's hard to get this closet fully open, so we'll just take a peek in here. But you can see it houses basically books from 2010 through, this one only goes up to 2017. So there's all sorts of, they're all in short boxes. And complete confession, then there are some boxes that just came straight from the comic store. And confession, nothing here is bagged and boarded. And so I'm going to go in and I'm working on April 2010 here. So that's going to be this stack of books. Now, just to give everybody some breathing room, this is a climate-controlled room. The basement is climate-controlled, so the books are all in really good shape. I did this project maybe 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it's 2017. Maybe I did this even 4 years ago. Jeez. With the intention of catching up. But as you can see, I'm almost 12 years behind in my comic book reading. More on that in just a minute. We'll take a look at the books that are cover dated April 2010. So yeah, I dug up comics, and the comics that I dug up were cover dated April 2010. Now I'm recording this in January of 2022. These are cover dated April 2010, just a couple months after my daughter was born. And she's now 11. So I'm almost 12 years behind. And I always say, if I read like 10 comics, it's just... Do me a favor, in the comments, how many comics do you read a week? I think that's an interesting question. And I had started to catch up, but now as I'm collecting more, I'm spending more time just putting comics together and creating these videos. So these are cover dated April 2010. Nothing astonishing in here, but every once in a while I come across, I'm going to try to make this a semi-regular
series on the channel. Every time I come up with a new month, I'll show you what I got. And every once in a while, there'll be a real gem in there. I bagged and boarded all the books. They're all in near mint condition. Humidity controlled basement. They're packed tightly so they don't have a chance to flop around and bend. Even though they haven't been in bags and boards, they're still in near mint condition. But what I do is I take out a month. And in this pile, there's 66 comic books. 2 of them are from my DC 1972 project. So I kind of put those in order by, again, you know, little OCD, by month and then by issue. So all the Januaries alphabetically as I get them. So I just added this copy recently of the January issue, number 145, of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. This is when Jack Kirby was doing the run, part of his Fourth World series. And yeah, it's also, this is when DC was at a 25-cent 48 pages. There were backup features, which are usually reprints, and I believe this is a Newsboy Legion reprint from Star Spangled Comics that was done by Simon and Kirby in the 40s. Also, one of the big, DC had a lot of romance books. Heartthrobs. This is the February issue, number 138 of Heartthrobs. That's always kind of an interesting read, and what's usually interesting about these is that the back cover advertisements are usually quite different than the war books and the superhero books and the Western books. A lot of, what are these, wigs? Some sort of hairstyling. Wigs. Yep. So, these are the books. There isn't anything overwhelming in here. I always put it at the front because I always want to read it first. Justice Society of America. I love the Justice Society. This at the time was written by Bill Willingham, who had written the Elementals for Comico back in the 80s. And there was also an annual written by Keith Giffen. I'm a huge Justice League fan. So Justice League of America was in there. And this was when DC was in the midst of the Blackest Knight storyline. So there's a lot of Blackest Knight tie-ins, especially in Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. Brave and the Bold had some weird team-ups. This title, I liked it when it first started because it was drawn by George Perez. This is a Zeus size, written by J. Michael Straczynski, kind of an interesting team-up, Aquaman and the Demon. Teen Titans. And a lot of these had backup features. This had Ravager, which is Rose Wilson, the daughter of Deathstroke. And then there was Titans, since they were no longer teens, when Cyborg was still an integral part of that team before he became a major part of the Justice League. There's Outsiders. Adventure Comics had been rebooted. And what's interesting at the time, this is the 7th issue of Adventure Comics from this iteration, but underneath that, kind of in a light gray, faded out, is issue 510, sort of like Marvel does now with the legacy issues. And I consider this part of the continuing Adventure Comics run. I think I have like 380-ish on up, so that's about 130 straight issues. I have a lot before that too. Green Arrow, Black Canary. Green Arrow series ended, and it became a Green Arrow, Black Canary series when they got married, which would have been in, I guess, 2007. Secret Six, a Blackest Knight tie-in. I believe that's a Manhunter. Wonder Woman and Power Girl on the cover. That's pretty cool. Doom Patrol with the Metal Men as the second feature. There may be a Metal Men movie coming. Rebels, which is, who's this? Coral Docs? It's one of the Doxes. It's like Brainiac's son. And then this was kind of a continuation of the 1990s Legion, L period G, E period G period I-O-N series. The Superman books were at the point in time where the residents of Kandor had been freed, and they created their own planet, New Krypton, on the opposite side of the sun from Earth, and all the Kryptonians were banished from Earth because they would have overpowered us. And so Superman was over there at the time, and that took him off-world. And what's nice about these were in, they gave these little kind of Superman logo numbers so that you could read the issues sequentially. Because there were 4 books that tied in. There's Action Comics, This is the point, the Nightwing and Flamebird, I believe, and Supergirl. And this is a pretty cool issue number 50 with a Michael Turner cover. And then the Superman book where Mon-El had kind of taken on the mantle of Superman or replaced Superman. Superman Batman, which kind of existed in its own continuity, because at this point in time in DC Comics, Superman was on the other side of the sun and Batman was dead. So the Batman comics, Dick Grayson is Batman at this point. I think, you know, I really enjoy this trade dress of Batman. I think that is a really well done one. Batman and Robin had 2 issues that month. This was Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne as Batman and Robin. And of course, there are always other Batman books. Batman Confidential. This is written and drawn by Sam Keith. And they had rebooted a lot of the Batman titles the year prior. Robin, Catwoman, some other titles ended long runs. And Tim Drake was, as Damian Wayne became Robin and Dick Grayson became Batman, Tim Drake became Red Robin. Batman Streets of Gotham was another kind of Batman series, because they had the Batman Shadow the Bat and Batman the Legends of the Dark Knight, etc., etc. In this particular Detective Comics run, featured the first solo stories of Kate Kane version of Batwoman. And in Batgirl, at this point, the mantle was carried on by Stephanie Brown, who had been Spoiler, who had been Robin at one point, was the daughter of the villain Cluemaster. And Azrael also made a comeback at this point. This is issue number 5, so just been around a few months. Magog was a character who came out of the JSA title, got his own limited series. I guess it wasn't limited. Short-lived series. It's actually a pretty good read. Keith Giffen and Howard Potter. That's good stuff. Mike Grell had come back to do Warlord at this time. Now, I more DC, a lot more DC than Marvel, because I'm always more of a DC reader. And what happened around 2000 when I bought a condo and finances were tight, sold a few books and eliminated quite a few books from my pull list, including most of my Marvels. And at this point, I wasn't really on top of adding new titles. So, like Gotham City Sirens is a book I've had to go back and find again. So that's not in this particular month. I look for that at a show, the issue that came out that particular month. Madame Xanadu, this is a really good read. It's part of the Vertigo line. And Madame Xanadu may be getting her own HBO Max series, so they could pull stuff from this. This goes all throughout time. From like ancient China to Spanish Inquisition era to the 30s and 40s, and Wesley Dodds is in some of these issues. Another Vertigo book, Unknown Soldier, which uses the name of the character who in the 60s and 70s appeared in Star Spangled War stories, but takes a brand new take on it and tells a very interesting story that takes place in a war-torn country in Africa. This is really well written. And then there are some kids' books that my kids have enjoyed. Billy Batson and the Magic of Shazam. My daughter liked this, especially after we saw the Shazam movie. Batman, The Brave and the Bold, which was based on the animated series, which is really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that series. It pays kind of homage to the 60s TV series, as well as a lot of the Silver Age characters. This particular issue is interesting because Huntress was not a Silver Age character, and originally she was the daughter of the Earth 2 Batman and Catwoman. And then this is for real little kids, Super Friends. My kids kind of outgrown this, but I still have it. The Great 10 was an attempt of DC to have a superhero team set in China. Now, here's kind of a key issue, Blackest Knight. As I said, that miniseries was running around. This is issue 7 of 8, and this is the first appearance of the White Lantern Ring and of the Life Entity. So I'm looking forward to that. Some pretty cool stuff on the cover. Some, Lex Luthor and Scarecrow and Adam. Looking forward to this. This was a miniseries I really enjoyed as they kind of rebooted the Justice League. Justice League Cry for Justice, as it has a new team with some interesting characters. Kongorilla and the Michael blue alien version of Starman. It has Freddie Freeman as Shazam, Animal Man, Supergirl, Black Canary. Who else is in here? I guess that's Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Atom, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Green Arrow, and Black Canary. So, written by James Robinson. I really have been enjoying this series. Another miniseries I enjoyed at the time was Red Tornado. Always a big fan of Red Tornado. This miniseries earlier on introduces like his 3 siblings, essentially. Red Volcano, Red Inferno, and Red Torpedo, who all have similar character designs. Now, today's trivia question, and I'll answer this in my next video. The first comment will get a no prize. Is in which issue did Red Tornado get his new costume? Because originally, when he originally appeared in Justice League of America 64, he had basically a red costume with purple trunks and purple cape. When did he get his new costume, and what was the reason for him getting his new costume? So issue, and for bonus Bronzeville Comics points, the reason. Another miniseries that took a long time, this is the final issue, it took a long time to write, was the Flash Rebirth series, which explains how Barry Allen comes back into the DC continuity, written by Jeff Johns. Obviously, this led to Flashpoint and the TV series and the movie, because Barry Allen had been dead for a quarter of a century. He died in Crisis on Infinite Earths in, I guess it was 1986, and he didn't come back until 2009. So, he'd been dead for over 20 years. But Wally West had taken up the mantle of Flash at that point. My handful of Marvel books, Mighty Avengers 34, and then at this point in time, Spider-Man was coming out 3 times a month. Amazing Spider-Man, 620, 621, and 622 with Morbius. I also started picking up New Mutants. I did like the art on this. I like that cover with Cyclops. That's pretty well done. And this Brian Michael Bendis run on Spider-Woman, picked that up. I believe I have every issue, and this is issue 163 of the Simpsons comics. Always a big fan of the Simpsons. Again, life's gotten in the way. I haven't watched the show in years. I think I'm just going to binge like 7 seasons at some point, or maybe 10 or something. Dynamite Comics was doing a number of series at the time. They did a lot of licensed properties, including Red Sonja. I missed out. The one series that I didn't get from Dynamite at the time was The Boys that they were doing. But they had this Black Terror miniseries, and that's related to this Project Superpowers, in which was kind of driven by Alex Ross. He did the cover here, where they took public domain characters from the Golden Age and reintroduced them into a cohesive story. I enjoyed it. It never really took off the way it should, but these covers by Ross are really great. And one of the licensed properties that I collected at the time was Zorro. So that issues 19 and 20 here. Power Girl had her own series at the time. Some of those later issues are pricey as the covers get a little more good girl art. I don't have all the issues. I've been trying to pick them up, but they're not easy to find. They're cheap. I mean, they're dollar bin books at best, because they're not even worth getting on eBay. DC tried to reboot the Archie superhero characters, the Web, the Shield. There were a few others for a while, much like they had done with the Impact imprint in the 1990s. Bart Simpson comics, I think I have every issue of that as well. There was a spin-off of Justice Society JSA All-Stars, and then there were 3 series that got mini-series during Blackest Knight. They had a Blackest Knight Flash, Blackest Knight JSA, love the JSA, enjoy that. And this is Blackest Knight Wonder Woman with this cover by Greg Horn where Wonder Woman becomes a Star Sapphire. So that's kind of fun. And then this was in April. They had done a whole bunch in March where they had an extra issue of a bunch of comics, from Adam and Hawkman to Phantom Strangers to Weird Western Tales, Starman. And this one is Green Arrow, which ended with issue 29 a few years earlier when the series became Green Arrow Black Canary. And this is an homage to that classic Neil Adams cover that started the Hard Traveling Hero storyline in the early 70s. Now, this is interesting. This is, I'm glad I picked this up. This is the first of 2 parts of a Milestone Forever storyline, which kind of wraps up the at the time, the continuity of the Dakotaverse with the Milestone characters. So I'm looking forward to reading that. This is kind of funny one. Human Target. DC rebooted the series based on the now a hit Fox TV series. There was a Fox TV. There were two TV series. There was one in the 80s and a Fox TV series in like 2010, 2011. They ran for 2 seasons and 25 episodes. And then their Marvel's Eye on the Camera miniseries. This, I think it was like 10 months between issues 5 and 6 for this. And then finally, a Marvel Masterworks of the Volume 2 of Daring Mystery Comics. So I pick up a lot of the Masterworks. Some of these Golden Age ones are kind of tough reads because the stories are very formulaic. And some of the art is pretty wooden. This makes me disappointed that DC didn't continue the Archives project, especially for some of their classic Golden Age heroes. Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Captain Marvel. I would love to have seen the Shazam Archives continue. But they, hopefully there have been some other collections of those. So that's some reading for me to do. I think at the time it took me to make this video, I could have read 2 of these comics. So hopefully I can get through this in a few weeks and be on to May of 2010. And then maybe I'll catch up, by the time I'm 80. So that's it for this video. If you want to check out some other stuff, here is my Marvel 1991 list. I've been starting a countdown there, and here are some recent pickups. So comment, like, subscribe, and until next time, enjoy your comics.